G'day guys, I'm out here today with my mate Peter Morse. We're at the Nepean Gorge and we're going to be testing out a couple of fly rods from Sage. If you've been following my adventures for a little while, you'll probably recognise this guy. This is my trusty Sage Bass 2 bluegill. I probably should have a name for it by now. It's come on that many adventures with me. But what I'm interested in trying out today is Sage's newest offering specifically for bass and predator style fishing, which is the Payload.
Payload is the first rod from the design table of Peter Knox. Jerry Sim retired, and a young fella from Seattle, Bainbridge Island, Seattle, who started at Sage as a work experience kid, but was absolutely obsessed with fly fishing. Went and got his engineering degrees and so on, is now the head rod designer at Sage. And this is the first rod that he designed. Now, it's really flown under the radar because it came out during COVID and there were all sorts of supply problems. No one was fishing. I've got two of them here with me. I've got a 6 and a 7, and I'll leave you to judge what you think of them. You know, I love them. I think they're just fantastic for this kind of fishing. But what kind of fishing are you thinking of using them for?
Well, I really love fishing for bass in our coastal creeks and bream as well. And often it involves casting heavier streamers or more wind-resistant flies like cicadas that perhaps are not really particularly well suited to your traditional trout-style fly rods and lines. There's a range of different applications, even within bass fishing. For example, we're on a big river here and we're in a boat, and I think that a particular style of rod and line suits that really well, whereas perhaps if you're in a kayak or if you're walk and wade fishing on a small stream, then it might be a slightly different balance that you're looking for. Really, the applications vary, but the constant is looking for a rod and a line that is going to carry a larger, more wind-resistant streamer and deliver it really well and turn it over well, and also have that sort of good fish fighting ability for being able to pull bass and fish like that out of snags and out of tight cover.
I think one of the key elements in this is that it's not distance casting.
No. It's not.
So, yeah, the payloads are 8'9", and shorter rods are not made for long casts. They're made for accuracy, and for fish fighting.
Precisely.
And you mentioned fishing out of a kayak, for landing fish out of a kayak, incredibly handy. But that accuracy is a very key component rather than distance.
You know, especially I think in bass and bream fishing, that accuracy is critical. 6 inches off the bank versus 2 feet off the bank can make the difference between catching a fish or not. And the other thing is, bass love shade, and we're always looking to punch flies into those tiny little holes in the foliage and get in underneath overhanging trees and get into those little tight spaces. That's part of what I love about bass fishing, is the casting challenge of it. But having a rod that's designed to do that makes the whole thing so much more achievable and enjoyable, I reckon. Now we're going to be pairing them with some different lines today too, and talking about the application of the lines with these rods. So we've got three lines from Rio that we're going to try out in the 6 and the 7 weight, haven't we?
I bought an outbound short. I have some Predator lines, which is a relatively new series. Those two lines are really going to be fantastic on this rod, I believe.
Yeah.
Both with different applications though, and different outcomes.
Yeah.
And what's the other line? What's the line you bought?
The line that I bought is the single-handed spay line. It's probably a line that would be particularly useful for walk and wade fishing. I'm going to be very interested to see the differences between the 6 and the 7 weight Payload today. Why don't we string them up and have a bit of a cast, mate?
Absolutely, let's do that.
That's beautiful, mate. So which one is this?
This is the 7 with the outbound short. It is a beautiful combination. Oh, there we go.
Got one?
He's just eating it one leg at a time.
We've got a bit of a wind that's come up now, which is probably a good test. That's very nice. It certainly turns over that fly well, doesn't it, mate? Very
easily. It's like it's not there.
This line and rod combination is certainly nice for kind of punching into little holes and things like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Just try one pickup and shoot.
Yeah, that's nice. So obviously when you're casting a larger fly, you know, a more powerful rod and a more powerful line means that you're going to be able to get those tighter loops, get it into tighter spaces and get it to turn over more easily than with a lighter one. So that's one of the considerations in choosing between a 6-weight and a 7-weight.
It's all about the mass and the line. If you're going to move big flies, if you're going to cast big flies, you need more mass to cast them.
Shall we have a cast with the 6-weight now?
Yep. This is a 6-weight with the outbound short on it. It's very different feel to the 7.
Yep.
I mean, it's just that, when you've been using the 7, it's just that much lighter. I think it's probably still going to pull a reasonable sized fish out of cover. Look, if you were fishing with a river with a lot of smaller bass in it, unquestionably I would be fishing the 6, but for fishing bigger impoundment bass, bigger bass on places like the Hawkesbury River, I think I'd want the 7 in my hand.
Yeah, it's very nice.
You see what I mean by so much lighter?
Yeah, it is a lot lighter. I think it probably feels closer in weight to my Bass 2.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely feel it bending a lot more down in the blank than the 7. I think, as you said, this is going to be a lot more fun to fight smaller fish on.
That's the outbound short
Yep.
line on there. The Predator line is probably going to be a little different again.
That is really nice. Just when that wind has sort of dropped a little bit. The 7 is probably going to be a little better in the wind. When the wind drops, this is very nice. You definitely need to slow down a little bit with this one compared to the 7, don't you?
Yep.
Oh!
All that casting and finally got up the nerve to have a crack.
Yeah, that's really nice. I do really like that. This is going to be a tough choice between the 6 and the 7. I don't know which way I'm going to go yet. How's that? The Predator.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So much easier to be more accurate with that slightly longer head. Less pick up and shoot, just a finer taper. Can certainly throw better loops. For me, the Predator is the line. It's just fabulous on this rod.
Probably a little better for distance than the outbound short.
A little better distance, a little more stable in the air, it feels. A little more comfortable holding line rather than just pick up and shoot. It's just beautiful on this rod. It's like they were made for each other. Absolutely magic. They make this in a tropical, a hot weather version now as well.
Yeah.
This Predator series, which is probably a better option for our summertime bass because, it does get bloody hot.
How do you think the warm weather version would be different?
It's going to be a little stiffer and a little harder, therefore slicker in the hot weather.
Yep.
So I can feel this just sort of sticking in the guides a little bit, particularly when I'm hauling. Yeah, I'd love to give the tropical version a go. I don't have one with me.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Huh?
Maybe it's just that I'm used to this line.
Nah, for me, I haven't used that line for a while. I moved straight from the outbound short to that, and immediately it just struck me with how castable it is,
Yeah, the outbound short has got that little bit more power kind of right at the tip.
Yeah, that's a fairly chunky cicada though,
Oh, it is, yeah.
Yeah, and that Predator is handling it beautifully.
It is, yes, and it definitely casts more like a traditional fly line.
Yeah, let's just try something else on the 6 though. I won't tell you what it is.
Oh, that's nice. That's lovely. The mystery line. That's very sweet. I feel like maybe this is a slightly better match than the outbound short on the 6.
Mm-hmm. Rio Grande.
Rio Grande, yeah. That's a really nice combination. I like that.
Yeah.
It's got good stability in the air and it's quite accurate.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's very sweet, isn't it?
Very nice, yeah. So I've confused you even more, haven't I?
You have. It's definitely a nice line on that rod. I feel like the 6-weight maybe has got a bit more flex further down in the middle of the blank than the 7.
The 6 is for your smaller fish, little bass, jungle perch up north.
Okay, yeah, that's really lovely. That certainly throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it?
Let's try this Grand on the 7. That is even better. You thought that last combination was good. Just have a crack at that.
So this is the same line.
Same line on the 7.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's something else. That is very, very sweet.
Yeah, I'm just wondering about the stiffness of it. Because
Is it a tropical?
I didn't think the ground was that wiry. I've got to double check what that is. I'll have to go on colour.
So maybe we should just call this the mystery line for now.
Yeah.
That's really sweet, mate. I very much like that. I mean, all of them are sweet.
Yeah, they're just different,
Yeah,
you know, and they have different applications.
you can sort of roll cast or spay cast that out to about 50 feet or so. That's a really nice line. The only one we've got left on the list is the single-handed spay. So now we've got the single-handed spay line. This is the 6-weight again.
Yep.
I'm just going to conventionally cast it first. So immediately I can sort of feel that this doesn't have the same turnover power in the tip
Yeah.
that the other lines have. Once you get the head fully out of the rod, it turns over nicely, but at those shorter distances, it's not going to turn over quite as well. For instance, that's the end of the head there where the colour change is. If I get the head halfway in, you can see that that's sort of struggling to turn over the fly. These are quite big foam wind resistant cicadas that I use. So you definitely notice the difference in the power at the front of the head. But if I just turn this way a little bit and we'll try a spay cast. It's a beautiful taper for roll casting.
Still struggles to pick up that cicada though.
It does. I feel like the 6 is probably just a little underpowered for this fly. Yeah.
This is where the 6 versus 7
Yeah.
comparison, where the rubber hits the road, you know.
Yeah. I do feel like the 7 is going to be probably better for this application.
Yeah.
In a single-handed spay. It's going to turn over that fly a lot easier.
Yeah. Such a different feel. That leader didn't straighten.
It's definitely not turning over the leader or the fly as well, is it?
Yeah. No. Yeah. It struggles to lift that cicada out of the water. Let's try the 7. Yeah, that's far better. Yep.
Definitely does a better
Just
job.
the 7. Just that bit of extra mass with those big cicadas, you know. For this kind of fishing, for me, it's too much of a shooting head.
Yeah.
The head ends just too abruptly.
Yep.
Much better than the 6, isn't it?
It's definitely better than the 6 in the single-handed spay, yeah. So yeah, look, you certainly can sort of roll cast and spay cast a cicada with this.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's the easiest. It's doable. It's not the tightest or most graceful of loops. It's not a system
No.
that I would really
No.
choose to do if I didn't have to.
No.
Just normal casting with it. Yeah, it's fine. It turns over this fly
Easily.
easily.
Yeah, in the 7, not the 6.
In the 7. You know, perhaps with a slightly smaller or less wind resistant fly, brim fishing, for example, with prawns or something, this might be really nice.
Yeah.
Well,
Alrighty.
that's really interesting.
Yeah.
We might go do a little bit of fishing, hey mate?
Find out what that bloody mystery line is.
And I'm going to fill you guys in at the end on which rod and which line or lines I'm going to choose. Oh, nice cast, mate. That was a cracker of a cast. If we don't hit anything soon, we might go and find some casuarinas,
Yeah.
Find some timber.
There
Oh,
is
was
the
that a
little
hit?
one. Tiny little thing. So are you blooping these flies or just...
It depends. I find a lot of times they'll take it just dead,
Yeah, yeah.
and then other days they want a little bit of action. Nice.
That's how you properly get a fly off a snag.
Yeah.
Not go...
Exactly.
Oh, oh. Might be
He's a little guy.
a herring, actually.
Yeah.
Righty, you're up, Steve.
Finally got one on. Not very big.
I should think not.
But at least it's a fish.
Yeah. Ah, well, healthy. They got up here in the flood, eh?
Yeah. Not sure where the bigger ones are today. There's a little one having a crack.
Yeah, we actually had it.
Yeah.
The line moved sideways.
Oh!
Need a fish?
Yeah. No, I popped it over. Oh, that was a better one. There he is.
Yes.
Just as I popped it over that log.
Yeah. Must be the same one, eh?
Yeah, he's not that big, but he's better than the others.
Yeah.
Still not very big. Well, mate,
So-
the fish weren't exactly biting their heads off today, but we had a bit of fun with playing around with rods and lines anyway.
The casting, yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you reach a decision on which you preferred?
Wow, mate, it's a tough call. I got to tell you, it's
Yeah.
a bloody tough call. They
Yeah.
are both very lovely rods. They're quite different
Yeah.
in the way that they cast.
Yeah.
And look, ideally, I would love to own both of them. I know I could find great applications for both of them.
Yeah.
I think if I had to choose only one as a bass rod, I reckon I'd take the 7-weight.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I think the 7-weight has got that little bit more power and punch
Yeah.
just to turn over these wind-resistant flies and to really punch into tight spaces.
Yeah, that's the key, isn't it? You don't want that leader collapsing, and
Yeah,
you really got to
Yeah.
turn it over and whack it in there. Yeah.
you have. The 6, I think, is lovely to play fish on.
Yeah.
You know, it feels really nice. It's light in the hand. I was sort of expecting that the 6-weight would be lighter and easier to cast. But as it turns out, I think with smaller flies it probably would be.
Yes, we were throwing big cicadas.
But with bigger cicadas like that I like to fish most
Yep.
of the time, the 7-weight actually made easier work of it.
Yeah, much easier work, yeah.
Yeah.
So the bottom line in all these things is, use enough rod,
Yeah.
and it's not, yes, it's use enough rod, use enough line as far as fish are concerned, but if you can't get the fly to them,
Yeah.
if the rod and line aren't handling the size flies you're throwing,
Yeah.
then you're really making things difficult for yourself.
That's right. That's right.
And that's what these rods are designed to do.
Yeah. Now the mystery line.
Yeah, I worked it out. It's the new warm water predator line. I got some recently, some samples, and I marked them up. I hadn't fished with them. I spooled it up, and Rio's lines come in all sorts of different colour combination.
Yeah.
And the colour combination wasn't familiar to me.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here thinking, what is that colour combo? But I worked it out. It's part of the new batch of lines I got, yeah.
It's very, very nice.
Yeah, and warm water, you could see it's a little bit wiry.
Yep.
It needs a stretch.
Yep.
Needs a good stretch. And then it's very, very manageable, but perfect for our summers.
Yeah, absolutely. And once it did have that bit of stretch in it, I think that extra sort of stiffness and wiriness to it
Yeah.
definitely just helped a little bit with stability in the air. And that Predator taper just seems to be the sweet spot, I think, for this rod.
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely no harm in someone using the outbound short on them.
Yeah, that's a great line too.
I've got mates who are cod fishermen who are throwing monster flies.
Yeah.
And they love the outbound short.
Yep.
But bass is not so, the flies are nowhere near as big. And
Yeah.
let's face it, on that 7, you can handle small cod easily.
Yeah.
But the presentation, the tight loops, into cover, you're better off with the Predator.
Yeah, I felt like it was probably the best line all round.
Yep.
I did really like the outbound short.
Yeah.
it definitely turns things over really good, and perhaps is really good for loading up at that short range.
Yeah. The interesting thing is that we used I only had one Predator with me in the new warm water line.
Yeah.
And that was a 7.
Yeah.
And we strung it up on the 6 and it worked okay.
Yeah.
You get away with it. It was much nicer on the 7.
Yeah, it just felt right on the 7.
It was right on the 7, yeah.
So mate, I think that'll be my choice, the 7 and
Excellent.
the warm water Predator.
Yeah. Well, in winter, you'll want something else on those cold mornings on the Hawkesbury.
I have the 7-weight normal Predator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and that's
perfect.
been the line that I've been using, and it's great.
Yeah,
it's a great line. But the
yeah.
warm water one for this summer cicada fishing, I think is just perfect.
Yeah.
I think it's one thing to cast a rod in the car park, you know, and at the park.
Yep.
And it's another thing to get out and actually fish it, doing the type of fishing that you're wanting to do with it.
Yeah.
Because there's little nuances that you pick up that maybe you don't quite realise when you're just casting a rod in the park.
Yeah, and they're nuances that come out after 20 or 30 minutes or an hour.
Yeah.
You know, they're never immediately apparent, but once you start to throw 40, 50, 100 casts, things are different.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'm very glad.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Thank you, mate.
Good on you, Steve.
Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. Leave us a comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.